You made a video called "When Card Games Break."
Oh yeah.
Where you got a lot.
Oh, I can't wait for this question. We're going there right now.
They said turn
right
the
off the
page, and you told me you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Okay. I wouldn't phrase it as what role does it play in my life. It defines everything about my life.
For the second episode of Coffee With, we're going to jump right in. Our guest is Austin McConnell, who is a filmmaker, a real filmmaker, as in he's competed around the world in film festivals, but he's also a YouTuber, a family man, and so much more. We're going to talk about what got Austin into filmmaking, whether The Last Jedi is actually a good movie, how to handle e-hate when a community lashes out at you, how to find a great book, and why you should break the mold. A little context, we met in a film festival in Orlando, Florida. In fact, we spoke on a panel together, and I was just so impressed how great the video essay YouTuber community is off camera. But on camera, I think you'll find Austin is just as charming. All in all, I really enjoyed this interview. And a quick note, the audio may be a bit strange as one of the lavalier mics I was using failed, so I had to use a secondary mic. I apologize in advance, but especially as I'm learning to interview people, I expect I'll make plenty more technical errors. One last thing to mention, I kept the interview a lot shorter this time around. Let me know if you enjoy that change and if you'd like to see more videos kept short like this one. So here it is. Enjoy.
Alright, so whenever you guys are ready.
Alright. Hey, good luck, man. I'm real excited for you.
Welcome to the second edition of Coffee With. We're here with Austin McConnell, filmmaker. And as you can see, things have changed in the Coffee With production
Look
value.
at all this,
I thought
man.
we would address that right up.
You've got
right off
film
the case.
strips. You've got an apple box with coffee.
We are currently at the Orlando Film Festival, and they have graciously decided to let us use a few of their gadgets. So we're super pumped about that. Yeah. And you will see a return to the normal budget production value shortly. So please enjoy.
This is amazing. I'm shocked. I wish that the audience could see all of the work that went in before. People were running around. We've got so many people in the room to disappoint.
And we will disappoint them. So I want to start. You're a filmmaker, and you've been a filmmaker for a while. I know a lot of people in this space kind of got into it. They saw someone else do it, and they said, "Oh, I can grab Premiere Pro. I can do it myself on a laptop." Yeah. You've been doing this for a while, and I wanted to ask you, what got you started? What was your formative moment in filmmaking where you realized, I want to be a filmmaker and I want to take it seriously?
That's a good question. So I decided that I wanted to become a filmmaker when I was watching Return of the Jedi in theaters as a kid, and Luke Skywalker threw the lightsaber away, refusing to strike down his father, and the music swelled, and he's like, I'll never turn to the dark side. I am a Jedi, like my father before me. Second that music picked up, I was like, all right, I want to make movies. That's what I want to do. This stuff is pretty cool.
Obviously, you're a huge Star Wars head. But, I mean, from judging by your catalog, you have a bunch of Star Wars films about, kind of esoteric Star Wars, movies and even, fiction and stuff like that. So that was the big breakout moment for you where you said, this is what I want to do. I want to make movies. Were you thinking like Star Wars, or were you just thinking in this?
No, man. I mean, it just one of the reasons that Star Wars was so good originally was that it was sort of like the hero's journey, and that entire story cycle, and it was in a fun, exciting way. What kid growing up in that particular era didn't love Star Wars? I mean, probably every person in this room right now who set stuff up was influenced in some way by that. And growing up, I was the nerdy kid that most folks on YouTube are, and I grew up loving Star Wars. I was totally nerded out for all the books and expanded universe stuff like that, and if you had told me that years later I would be able to find success making videos about obscure Star Wars planets and aliens as an extension of success in video, I would have thought you were crazy, but I don't know.
So I had a follow-up question to this, and it requires an admission on my part.
Okay.
So I was not a huge... I was a Star Wars fan like everybody, but I was a very casual.
But you weren't crazy.
I would watch the movies, and I thought, oh, they're good, but I never thought like these are the movies to see. These are the movies to watch.
Yeah.
I liked all the wrong movies. I
Yeah.
liked like Clone Wars and like Revenge of the Sith, and
Oh, that's
everyone
all
hated those. I loved The Last Jedi. I thought, oh, this is a
We're
turning.
going there right now.
This is a turning
Right
the
off the bat.
page in Disney's turning the page on Star Wars. I got out of the theater. I thought, what a great movie. I go to the reviews,
Yeah.
and it's split down the middle. I mean,
Yeah.
you have people who absolutely think it's a crime against the whole Star Wars, catalog.
Yeah.
Some people think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Where do you, a Star Wars expert, give us the
Oh.
definitive Star Wars
Is that going to be
opinion.
the lower third
Yeah.
Star Wars expert?
Star Wars expert speaks on.
I cannot give a definitive opinion on a film as to how you should think or feel about it.
But what do you think or feel about it?
I think The Last Jedi was great. I loved it. I think that its greatness is evidenced by the fact that it is so divisive. That sounds strange to say, but for the first time in a long time, they are experimenting with the form of those stories in a way that at least is eliciting a reaction from people. And in order for stories to stay fresh and to explore new territory, you have to kind of go out to the weeds. You have to go out and do things that are a little risky. And that was a very risky entry. I was a fan of Rian Johnson's way back when he released Brick in 2005, which was a really low-budget affair, and it was interesting to see. I was wondering how he would translate that to, the platform of Star Wars, and I liked it. I liked how it experimented with the story and how it kind of took a blowtorch to certain expectations that people had.
Absolutely.
And that's good. Films do not exist to satisfy your fan theory, because one of the things is that people. How should I phrase this? When it comes to any franchise, any story, people think they know what they want, but what they need to hear or what they need to see in a film is very rarely what they want to see. And if you're just shooting for meeting people's expectations instead of transcending them, then what's the point?
Yeah, you see this all the time in music, where everyone wants the artist to stay exactly the same.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to go over some bumpy albums before they get to the next thing that they love.
Well, the thing
But
is
you would
that
have never gotten there without.
people say, "Man, it's. I wish that they would go back to the way they were. I wish this would go back to the way that it was, way back when." But it's there are other forms of media where people did stay in that wheelhouse, and it's the ones those are the things that you've stopped watching because it's just never changed or anything like that. You've got to. When you tell stories, you want to experiment, you want to play around and try new things, and sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. They're going to be rolling out Star Wars films way after you and I have both died. We're not going to live to see the last Star Wars film. When Disney bought them, and it stopped being just the defined trilogy or trilogies, and they said that they were just going to make them from now on. It's like James Bond. Sometimes they release a Bond film and you go, oh, it was pretty good. And sometimes a Bond film's released and it's it's not bad, but there'll be other ones. And, you have to... It's quite interesting in that some people view me as this really hardcore Star Wars nerd, but at the same time...
And you are a big nerd.
I
Star
am.
Wars nerd.
I am a big nerd and a big Star Wars nerd, but I still am able to view it with a level of, okay, it's not the end of the world if they release a bad film every now and then. Just get them the next time. The only place I draw the line at is where people say you have to think what I think. You have to think it's a bad movie, or you have to think it's a good movie. The only thing that I can say is, to me, it's a good movie. If you disagree, hey, have fun. At least we're getting new Star Wars and we can enjoy it. At least we're talking about new stuff as opposed to rehashing the old stuff.
Speaking of kind of, working on your own taste and not having the taste as everyone else, I know you went into making kind of independent movies for a while, and you were going to film festivals. I suspect that probably played a big role in how you tell stories today, is the lessons you learned back then. So you run us through, especially, I saw something about you would do 48-hour film festivals.
Oh, yeah.
Where you would have to do a film in 48 hours. And it's hard to get anything done in 48 hours, much less you know, shooting the video, scripting. I mean, it's scripting too, right?
Yeah.
That had to be, I mean, I just imagine that had to be huge for you learning how to put something together on time.
Yeah.
And you had to get it done.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, when I was a student, we would compete in these 48-hour film challenges where they give you a prompt. They say, this is what the film has to be about, has to use this line of dialogue and this prop, and you've got 2 days. After 2 days, bring it in, and that's that. If you're 2 days and 1 second over, it doesn't get accepted. And so, go. And you've got to run off and figure it all out in 2 days.
It reminds me of those chef shows where they say, like, you have two
That's
ingredients.
exactly what
and
it's
you
like.
have to use the two ingredients, and maybe they don't work too well
Yeah.
together, and you have to be creative.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. And the thing is that there's no entry barrier to it. You just, if you pay the $10 or $20 fee, and you get to compete. And for some people, it's an excuse to go out with some of their friends and make a cheesy movie and have a little bit of fun, and that's great. For people who are aspiring to work in the TV video, film space, it gives them an excuse to try it. A lot of people who compete, especially for me when I was competing in those challenges, I was a student. I was still learning the craft, still learning how to operate cameras and how to edit and mix and even act, and so it gave me a platform to try out the art of filmmaking. Now, the problem with that was that those festivals only ran once a year. And so I was kind of at a point where it was like, okay, I've got one shot every year to make a movie, and I wasn't doing much of anything else. It wasn't until after I started doing YouTube to where I was able to use the principles that I learned in 48-hour filmmaking and apply it to, something like YouTube. YouTube is very fast-paced. You have a quick turnaround time for putting content out, and it's like any other muscle. When I first started out doing YouTube, I had not really been in the creative gym pumping the iron, so to speak, and so it took a while for me to lift the heavy weights, and so I had to start with the smaller weights, maybe release one video a month. And it got to the point where I could do that, and it's time to up the weights, and it's time to do twice a month. And I'm kind of at the point now where I can, for the most part, get out one a week, and sometimes I miss a week, and so I do 2 the next week, or I try to do 4 a month basically. And the more I've done that, the easier it's been able to do. And the first time I started doing it, one a week, the videos weren't as good quality, but once you kind of learn the workload, you get to increase the quality of the product that you're putting out.
So to connect these ideas with like the arc as you came to where you are today, seems like you watched Star Wars, you want to be a filmmaker, then you did these 48-hour challenges, but that was all in the film direction. And what you do today is not exactly that. It's kind of a hybrid of filmmaking.
Yeah, it's sort of the next evolution of that.
Video essays. Yeah, exactly. What was that moment? Because I can't imagine you saw yourself on YouTube where you, like making the kinds of movies you are today.
Yeah, no.
You were kind of doing maybe like indie work, it seems like,
Yeah.
or independent stuff. So what was that moment? When did it click that, hey, what I'm trying to do, maybe I could just do it on YouTube instead?
Yeah.
And because I think a lot of filmmakers are looking like they have similar aspirations to you.
Well, it's, you have to give people credit in that they're only working kind of a 20th century model. I was aspiring, I always had in my head, I'm going to make this cool indie breakout film that's going to be like a cult classic, and that would be my calling card, and that would lead to other stuff. And, I would make the movie, or I would make shorts, and then I attempted a feature, and I would submit it to festivals, and nobody would watch because nobody was coming to the festivals to watch it, and nobody knew who I was, and nobody cared. And the quality of the product wasn't that good. It was, every filmmaker's first film has got issues with it, technically speaking. And I put my heart and my soul into these short films and these indie films, and it wasn't happening. I couldn't get people watching it because I was kind of in this box, or I was actually a better metaphor would be I was just kind of shouting into the void. And I eventually got to the point where I realized, so everybody's online, everybody's watching YouTube videos. Why don't I shift my focus? Why don't I stop trying to be the breakout indie movie star and just try and tell interesting or cool stories on YouTube.
What were like maybe your one or two first successes where people noticed, oh, this Austin McConnell guy has something to say?
So the first video that I made was an essay about the book Harry Potter and the Cursed Child screenplay. And when I released that was sort of my first jump into, trying to do some kind of long form critical analysis, whatever. I thought I would try that. And I released it, and, it had 1,000 views after 3 months of being out there. And then I sort of slowly watched it get 100 views a day until it finally hit 10,000. And once it hit 10,000, something about hitting 10,000, I woke up the next morning.
A light went on.
It was at 35,000 the next morning. And then the next day it was like 60,000. And within like 2 weeks, it was getting hundreds of thousands of views. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of really interesting. And I actually took a screenshot on my phone of the video when it had like 100,000 hits. And I said, man, this is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to commemorate this occasion with a screenshot. And I had some other stuff I was working on, and so I was releasing more videos alongside it. And eventually it just slowly but surely that snowball formed, and then it just kind of started rolling organically. And then I started getting to the situation where I would release videos and I could tell that I had a consistent immediate audience. And at that point I was like, okay, I now have people who are watching the stuff that I'm producing. It wasn't the stuff I thought that I would have people watching, but the trick now that I'm going to try and pull is, now that I have an audience, let me go back and let me actually make an indie film now that folks are watching.
I'm glad you said that, because there's a movie that you may or may not be producing. You hinted at it.
A movie that I may or may not be producing.
You hinted at it in one of your videos.
Yeah.
You didn't want me to say it. You
Right.
shouldn't have brought it up. And you told me you can't talk about it,
Yeah.
so let's talk about it.
Okay.
What can you tell us about this super secret, super awesome project that you're working on?
Did you say super secret super
Super
Austin?
awesome.
Oh, awesome.
No.
I was like, what does it mean, super
That's way
Austin?
too clever. That's
Right.
above my pay grade.
I can't say anything about it, honestly, because if I say information about it right now and it changes, then I'll have either lied to people or I'll have set up a false expectation. And it's in pre-production right now. We're heading towards production next year. And, details change, especially in indie film. Stuff changes sometimes last minute. And right now it's, stories in a pretty locked-in state. Right now we're just kind of looking at the practical feasibility. The one thing is that now that I've found success on YouTube and I've been able to turn this into a career, I'm now able to facilitate a budget to shoot on that was way beyond what I ever thought possible. And I'm able to take that and I can invest that back into now making a serious film.
real
This
film.
is the way I kind of keep saying it to myself is this is sort of my next year when I make this thing, it's going to be sort of my last big shot,
Are you going to take a hiatus from YouTube while you do?
No.
Are you going to? That just sounds like so much work. I'm tired just hearing that.
Well, I mean, I won't take a hiatus from YouTube. I might reduce it. I might go to bi-monthly, but
this is going to be a huge departure from probably what a lot of your fans know you as.
Yeah.
Which is, what's interesting about your work, though, is story, and I may have talked to you a little bit about this earlier, story is a really integral component of the kinds of things that you make.
Yeah.
It's not just about, like, for example, your ink cartridges video. It's
Yeah.
not just about it being a scam.
Mhm.
It's about the story of you going over to your grandma's house, I think.
Yeah.
And how that all unfolds is really interesting. And it's one of the great lessons of screenwriting is that story is the best way to talk about facts. And it's actually one of the most interesting things, period.
Yeah. Well, that video actually starts off, the intro tag on it is, I think it's like exterior Austin's garage day. Like it's set up as if it's a screenplay.
Right. So you kind of already are that, but still, this movie's going to be
Well, every video I make is a short film.
Right.
In some way, shape, or form. I'm telling a story about something, and it's structured as if it's a short film. It has a definitive beginning, middle, and end. But in terms of going to the narrative way, it's going to be a little bit. It's interesting. It's going to be different for people to see a narrative, something that I'm telling, which is strange because where I come from in Springfield, Missouri, that was all I was known for, was making these narrative shorts that were kind of dark and interesting to watch, really kind of strange and depressing, things like that. And so that was all I was known for. But now I'm at this situation where way more people now know me for the goofy KFC video.
Way more.
And so, but at the same
Not in
time,
a
one of my more highly appreciated videos on my channel, it's close to my heart and lots of people's hearts because I get way more emails from people telling me about what they thought about that, was the video where I talked about, it was the retrospective of the first film I shot. And it's like my channel trailer right now. It's a 33-minute video where I'm just talking about what I learned from shooting my first feature film. I went into shooting this film with, this huge expectation of it being this big thing, and it was just a complete failure in every way. But having some time removed from it and learning, going through the process of shooting it, I was able to make a YouTube video about my experience shooting it. And that retrospective about the making of the movie is way more successful than the movie ever was. And that's just kind of the way that it is on YouTube now. So I think that people sort of know that I do a little bit of filmmaking. It's just that they've never had the business card film, so to speak.
Right. I think that's very true. And I'm really excited to see it. I wish you would.
I don't have any details to.
Do you know what genre it is?
No. I'm not even going to tell you that. Because I don't...
That's fair.
The films that I write aren't genre films.
Okay.
I say that, I feel like what I just said
so
is going to be replayed 20 years from now when I become this, renowned... And stuff is fluid and stuff changes. And I don't want to... I feel sometimes like it's like the emperor has no clothes. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that I'm saying very little about it is hyping it way more than if I say what it is.
So... one of my favorite things about your channel is you're not afraid to talk about failure.
Which it's like a central theme.
It is. I love it because a lot of people try to just kind of cover their past failures and pretend like, oh, I was always this talented or always this good. And one of my favorite things is you confront that directly. I think you've had a channel for how long?
12 years.
So a lot longer than most. You've had a channel a lot longer than most other YouTubers.
Yeah.
And only recently have you found kind of some sure footing.
Yeah, like a year and a half ago. 2 years maybe.
I think that whole concept of artistic failure being a component of success is something that if you don't properly understand that, you're not going to be equipped to kind of weather the storm, so to speak. You might have a few failures and you think, oh, this just means I'm bad.
Yeah.
I'm whatever. But of course, when you do find success like you did, you can just look back and be like, oh no, that was just all building to my future success. What do you think was your failure that you took the hardest at the time and was like later on you thought, oh no, I looked at it, I'm totally wrong? Was it your film?
Speaking in terms of filmmaking, there's plenty of personal failures, but speaking in terms of filmmaking, I think it was the film. When I started shooting Sprouting Orchids, I was a very pretentious young man who thought that he was the next Da Vinci and was going to make this masterpiece thing from nothing. And I was just way in over my head and I thought way too highly of myself and I was very prideful. And it was a very humbling experience to fail and to be the direct result of the failure itself and to not be able to blame it on others. And so, it was a very humbling experience to me in that respect. And I think maybe that's resonated with people now on YouTube because I'm much more open and honest. I don't try and pretend like I'm this big, fancy. I'm just some dude in southwestern Missouri trying to make cool stuff. I'm not that big of a deal. And so I try to reflect that in what I do right now. I just make goofy videos every now and then, and sometimes if I have something profound to say, I'll say it. And I think one of the things that has really helped is that I want to focus on telling other people who are interested in the kind of stuff that I'm interested in, that if I can do this kind of stuff, then they can at least have a shot at it.
I love that. So this is maybe the other, so your channel is very miscellaneous, and I think the other maybe through line of your channel is that you are actively trying to prop other smaller channels up, or like you said, give people chances maybe they wouldn't have otherwise had. But you only pick 5, and you pick them on like the category of quantity, quality. Are there any people that you thought, man, I wish I could shout them out? They either have a little over 1,000
Yeah, they have like
subscribers
1,002.
or something like that. Like, did you ever think like, oh, I wish I could give this person a voice?
Not really, because I mean, if they're above 1,000, then they are starting to form, at the very least, their own audience. And maybe it's somebody who's got 13,000 subscribers. They're not huge, but they've got their own little, their thing that's growing. And at that point, I just directly collaborate with them.
So let me ask you this: who's your favorite small creator?
Ooh, now that's a great question. Who's my favorite small creator? If I had my phone, I would be able to like look at. Here's like this floating hand is going to come off screen things.
It's the production. It's the high production.
What's interesting is one of the great things about YouTube is that I say to myself, this is a great small creator that maybe I should reach out to. And by the time I check the numbers again, they've grown to the point where they're even,
they're no longer a small creator.
They're no longer a small creator. Let me look at my subscriptions here. Let me see here. No, he's at 30 and he's at 50. Okay, so there's 2. Well, let me just talk about one for brevity's sake. So I gave this guy a shout out in my last what's going on here? Sorry. So I gave this guy a shout out in the last video I did on creators with under 1,000. It was a channel Aspect Science. He had under 1,000 subscribers. I was looking at the stuff and I was like, this guy's got some great editing skills. He's got a great on-camera personality. He's going to go far, and he just kind of needs that kick, or just a little bit of, hey, check this guy out. And if even a fraction of my audience checked him out, then it would just cause some kind of a chain reaction. And like within a day, he had 15,000 subscribers, and like today, he was featured as artist on the rise or creator on the rise on YouTube. And he's just going to, if he stays with it, he's just going to launch into his own thing. I hope he gets bigger than I am. I hope that everybody that I shout out in that series becomes a much bigger YouTube than me.
And I think that's the perfect example of giving just someone a helping hand, like Aspect Science, like poster child. Artists on the rise, they're given all these opportunities that they would have never otherwise gotten. Now I want to shift a little bit to kind of, you've had a lot of success. And I think you're at 600,000 plus subscribers right now.
650 or something like that.
I think that was the last I checked. It's interesting when you start out, you're kind of a nobody, and then you build up, and then eventually you're somebody. And before, maybe you make videos on somebody else, and then people start to make videos on you. And so you made a video called "When Card Games Break."
Oh yeah,
where you got a lot.
Oh, I can't wait for this question.
Where a lot of people gave you a lot of like.
I got more hate than when I said I liked The Last Jedi.
When I saw the comments in that video, I was like shocked.
Oh yeah, it was quite volatile.
I think you made just a technical error on like one of the.
I didn't explain
one
of the game mechanics because I'm dumb. I don't know. Like I played the game casually and I didn't understand the mechanics of one of the things. I said that a certain card could create an infinite loop, and the way I described how that happens was not exactly how it happens. And I kind of, as my wife told me, I poked the hornet's nest of the Hearthstone gaming community, and boy, did they let me know it. It was a fun 3 days of kind of way over the top. It started off with, hey, you got this technically wrong. And then it devolved into, we're going to send death threats to you and your friends, and I still to this day have people comment on other videos. Like I will release a video this Wednesday, and I can guarantee you that there will be a small section of the comments saying, I just can't listen to anything you say ever since you messed up that Hearthstone video. And if that's true, then I'm very sorry. That's just...
It's weird how fickle kind of...
Well, people are very dedicated to their thing. Yeah. That's their game. That's their community. And people will take it as a personal attack if you say something incorrectly or you attempt to say something negative about it. And the fact that I had incorrectly explained a mechanic gave sort of a scapegoat to write off the actual point of the video, which was the fact that we now live in a gaming environment where games are routinely patched and altered after you purchase them. And the whole point of the video was that, we live in this place where you pay for a certain product or gaming experience, and then the designer of the game can decide to alter that experience after you've purchased the game. A few years ago, if you went and you bought GoldenEye 007 for the N64, that was it. That was the game. And you knew what you're paying for, and that was the experience. But now you can buy a game like No Man's Sky that is a certain type of game, and then a year later it is completely different. Sometimes that's a very good thing in the instance of No Man's Sky, but in other situations it's... And the whole point was that I started the video off talking about card games as a kid, that I would play at the middle school cafeteria, or I would watch middle schoolers play in the cafeteria, and how the card game world has shifted. It's regrettable that legitimate point was lost in the fact that I was just dumb and poorly explained a mechanic, and it had to devolve into the bashing.
What I thought was interesting is it seemed like almost due to and this is what I meant by you had grown to a big YouTuber. I think when you're a smaller YouTuber and you make a mistake like that,
it's
people
forgivable.
will let you know.
Right.
Well, it's not that it's forgivable. It's that you can't get anywhere by calling them out.
Yeah.
And I think because you were big at that point and the video kind of went viral, I saw people making entire videos using...
Yeah, they have my face as the thumbnail with liar and fraud because I didn't understand how to play a card game correctly.
Yeah, I don't want to be too
I'm not selling government secrets to, a foreign agent or something. I'm just getting a game mechanic wrong. I'm sorry. I'm just... Like, people assign ill will to you. You don't even play the game. That's all fake footage that you didn't even record. You stole somebody else's footage and pretended you don't even play Hearthstone. Couldn't it just be that I'm just a casual player and I just misunderstood the mechanic, and that's one of the points of the video, is that it causes casual players to want to give up on the game?
So I have
Sorry, I don't want to get into
No, it's fine. It's fine. I have like a segue into my own experience. When I was starting out, I did a kind of similar thing where I was on the other side. I was calling out somebody else. I called out this philosophy channel.
Okay.
And looking back on it,
did you threaten to come to his
no,
house and
no,
kill
no,
him?
no, no, no. But I think what happens is when people see someone successful, and if the person successful makes a mistake, they assume everything that person's doing is probably a mistake, and they've kind of brought these sheeple into their flock or whatever. And it's easy to kind of pick them out and criticize them because honestly, when you get bigger, you're actually an easier target. An easier target to make fun of because you have this dedicated fan base, and dedicated fan bases are always easy to make fun of.
Yeah.
So I just thought that dynamic was interesting of when it happened to you was very telling of the kind of attention it was. Mm-hmm. Not that it wasn't right about the specifics of the game mechanic, but the backlash was so extreme that I think it maybe showed that there was, I think some people were trying to get, not everybody, but some people were trying to get a few clicks out of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you create a video that's got my face on it with liar and fraud, and it's just, the trashier you are towards someone, the more clicks you're going to get in some instances. And if people wanted, if people want to choose that hill to kill me on, then it's whatever they want to do. But the great thing about all of this is that I've tried to be smart and surround myself with actual friends and family who are supportive, and I don't live and die by whether unnamed keyboard warriors like me or not. I get to go home every day, and I've got a wife that loves me, and we've got a wonderful relationship, and I'm happy with that. I can be content with that. If people want to be mad at me about a misstated because I didn't understand a card game
Yeah.
correctly, then okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as I've built my YouTube channel, I've looked back at that old video and I've thought,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you've become the creator.
Yeah, because I've become the creator with flaws. It's not that my criticisms were technically wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't give these larger creators any kind of like.
Well, you don't view them as a person.
Yeah, you don't give them any like oh, they have a limited budget, a limited time to do the
Yeah.
research, etc. So definitely I've kind of stepped into the shoes a little bit and realized
Yeah.
the kind of pitfalls of being creators.
It's tough. I mean, especially when you do like educational content or you do factual content like video essays. I get like 3 things wrong in every video. I mean, if you want a list of the stuff that I've stated wrong, I should even do a video about all of the factual inaccuracies.
You don't have to.
It's because I'm just a, like I said, I'm just some dude in Missouri making videos, and I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say something wrong every now and then, and I'm going to incorrectly state a few facts. Sometimes it's like because I didn't really understand it properly. Sometimes it's because when I was recording it, I said the wrong number.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch it by the time I edited it and sent it out there, because when you're just kind of DIYing the thing and you're yourself. And the other thing is sometimes the stuff that I study or the information that I look at is actually not accurate. Mm-hmm. Or in the case of certain things, it becomes dated over time. And you know, it's one of the pitfalls of the creator of being a creator. It goes with the territory. You have to learn to not live and die by whether people are going to click subscribe or click thumbs up. And if I get something wrong one week, you just have to bear with me, forgive me. Come back next week, and if you decide you don't like it, then stop watching. That's fine. And you know, all I can do is try and do my best, and it's not going to be perfect by any means. But it is true that once you become a creator, and once you actually start
you're known.
Once you've got you're wearing those shoes, then when people start sending you ridiculously over the top, hateful messages and like literal physical threats, you go, this person just doesn't even realize that they're not viewing me as a human being at that point. Like, they would never say those things to me face to face.
Never.
And if they did, they would like immediately, no one would listen to them. But you know, that's just the internet, man. But I will say that the internet's been around long enough now, and it's old enough to where trolls are something you can kind of write off, and you just don't take it too personally.
So, turning from that video to another video that you did that I really enjoyed. I actually liked the card game. I liked your overall point, which was funny because then I scrolled down and I saw like the explosion in the comments. But
yeah,
another video that I really liked of yours was the video about books, where you did like a book review, and specifically, I love this idea that you present, which is that you've got to get out of the hive mind, so to speak. Which is your point is you brought up a book, like you said, you know, you've got to get out there and read because the internet just says the same thing to each other all the time.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to get new information in your head is or information that isn't in everyone else's head.
Yeah.
Is by reading something else. And you said, not this book, and I think you flashed Turtles all the way down. Not because it's John Green's book, but because everybody's reading John Green.
Well, I'm willing to surmise that for many people, that was the only book they read that year. Maybe the past 3 years.
So, to you, how do you break out of that loop? Because I think for a lot of people, when they think of selecting a book, they just want to go to Barnes & Noble, or some bookstore, and they're looking at the shelves, and it's overwhelming. How do you find interesting, unique, like, books? Because there's so many that you don't want to read trash. Yeah. So it makes sense that you'd go to the top list and just see what's worth reading.
Yeah.
And then that's how everyone ends up reading the same thing. So I agree with your point that we need to kind of, it's more interesting when we're all reading different things. But to your point, how do we...
So you just go to a library, and you go to a section that you would never be caught dead in. You close your eyes, and you spin around, and whatever your finger's pointing at, whichever book on the shelf, you take it off, and you check it out, and you read it. That's it.
It's funny.
Sorry.
No.
Well, the thing is, you give yourself that element of random circumstance.
Yeah.
I thought biographies and like nonfiction stuff was so boring growing up. I couldn't get into it. I was all about fantasy novels. And now like 90% of, well, maybe not 90%, but a large portion of what I read are biographies because I just started reading them and about fascinating people, and they had, interesting lives. And I think probably another portion of that is the fact that I'm getting older, and tastes change as you get older, and you tend to shift towards other things. And so, in terms of like video, the whole point I was kind of making in that video of getting outside the hive mind, specifically for video essays, I've noticed that a lot of video essayists watch me. I think somebody told me one time that I was like the video essayist's video essayer, or whatever that means. Something like that. So, how should I say this? Look, David Fincher's a great director, and he's made some great stuff, and I don't want to deny any of that at all, but you can only have so many takes on him, and so many takes on his work, and he's not the only director. And there have been directors that have been dead for 30 years now, who made some amazing films way back when that nobody watches anymore. And there's some lessons to be learned in the stuff they made as well. And there are a lot of great directors that, haven't gotten the airtime or the playtime that you could probably look at.
I think maybe part of the reason that people make videos about that is because, number one, everyone talks about them.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's easy. The other reason, I think, is that they think, well, what are people interested in? And they see, what are people watching? So sometimes it's just like you're scared to become too obscure.
Yeah.
You're like way out in the weeds and nobody's interested. But other times, if you can do it right, you can turn an obscure film into like a really interesting thing about a passion thing that you love.
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount of Dark Knight video essays I've seen hurts my brain.
Yeah.
But I see why people pick it as a topic
Marvel.
because everybody loves Marvel.
Yeah.
Everybody, and then there's this whole like meta of like now Vox is saying why Marvel is overrated because everyone makes so many. But they're still making a video essay about Marvel. Everybody's making a video. So I think you were talking about, I don't want to cut off your point. I think you were talking about how we get out of that. So you were saying everybody does David Fincher, everyone does Marvel, The Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. You're saying do it differently.
Well, let me maybe put it like that. I understand that having a video about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to get clicks. I get that. I understand that. Having a Star Wars video is probably going to get clicks. I understand that, and I get that. So maybe instead of focusing exclusively on that, you do your tentpole video that covers the popular film of the day, but have supplemental material where you're investigating obscure artists or film directors who have not been, if you want to say in the zeitgeist, if you want to sound pretentious about it, obscure folks that aren't being talked about right now. Do that in addition to that stuff. I did this video on a short film animator named Jonathan Job Nkondo in France, and he makes these amazing minimalistic animated films. And so I was watching this stuff, and I was like, "This is amazing! This guy's got this. It's great animation, great, and unlike anything else." And nobody's talking about it, so I'll just make a video about it. And so I make a video about it, and it wasn't this huge viral breakout hit, but it got a substantial amount of views, and there comes an email in my inbox, and it's him. And he's like, "Hey, I just watched this video. Thank you very, very much. People are watching the stuff that I'm making, and it's encouraged me as a creator to start making more stuff." That's the best feeling in the world. It's like all these bands that got real popular way back when, they didn't have, it was word of mouth. And you can't spread new stuff by word of mouth if nobody's watching different stuff. Again, I don't have a problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they're great films. I don't have a problem with David Fincher's director. I think they're great films. It's just, if you want to advance the art form, you need to kind of talk about some new stuff.
It's definitely a meme kind of in the video essay community that video essayists almost exclusively do film analysis.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think I'm a big fan of us eventually outgrowing. Like you said, I don't have a fan with people doing film analysis.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see I'd like to see the genre encompass more than just film analysis, because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah, I think that there's a few reasons why video essays seem to primarily be film analysis. One reason might be because it's easier to produce, because the film has already been shot, you're just sourcing footage
And
from
it's
it.
great film footage.
Yeah. It's visual, everybody's watched it, there's that pre-established knowledge base about the film in question. The way that I see video essays continuing or evolving over time is that you branch out and talk about things outside of film. Video essayists exist, and they existed before YouTube. They were just called documentary films. And so that's the direction that it's going in. I mean, you have half of your videos that you make can be expanded to 30 or 40 minutes, and you could make a film, make a documentary about it. It's just that the medium now favors online video, and that's the form that it'll take.
One of the things I think is most interesting and unique about your channel's kind of value is that you come from that film background, and it really shows in your work. Like I said, it shows in your storytelling.
Yep.
What's something I think a lot of people who watch this channel are either interested in filmmaking, filmmakers themselves, or interested in the people who do filmmaking. So I want to ask kind of a question about YouTuber creation in general. What's the thing you think is overlooked the most by creators who, obviously they're just DIY, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm DIY. But something that we're just missing that is kind of a fundamental to screenplays or screenwriting that could be easily fixed. Whether it's tech, whether it's camera stuff, whether it's writing. What do you think something that you consistently think, I have an edge because I know this?
Well, that's a good question. I think a willingness to tread untraveled ground. When I do videos where I try and highlight small creators, and I ask people to give me recommendations, it's usually like kids trying to promote their Fortnite gameplay channel, or it's somebody trying to be the second-rate version of a different creator. And I think that's born out of a few things, but ultimately I think the biggest reason is because that's proven ground. And you see that somebody out there is having success covering a certain subject or a certain topic or a certain type of video. And so people think, I'm going to do that myself. And as a result of that, you have a bunch of people poorly imitating someone who's already doing it way better than anybody else. And it takes a little bit of courage to try something that hasn't been done before, or experiment, or go outside the established wheelhouse. But I think that there are benefits to be had, and if you're gonna create stuff, why not try and create something that somebody else isn't already doing?
I think this point is absolutely huge. No millionaire has ever become a millionaire by reading someone else's How I Became a Millionaire book.
Yeah.
Because that's outdated information.
Yeah.
And they took advantage of a market opportunity.
And it's survivor bias.
Yeah.
You've got these
survivor
people
bias.
I don't want to name any names because I don't want to start any beefs, but you've got these creators who are like, hey, look, just do this, that, and give it your all, and it'll be great. And it's like, well, there were a ton of factors that caused you to be the success that you are that were way out of your control.
And once there are two, it's so much less interesting.
Yeah.
When Casey Neistat did his little vlog thing, other people had done vlogs. He kind of revolutionized it in a way.
Yeah.
And then you saw everyone carrying around the same Gorilla tripod, the same setup, and they're doing the same jump cuts. And if it's it's not that you can't do the vlog a different way. You can, but everyone is doing it the same way, or a lot of people are. And I think that's huge. I think realizing that they didn't find success by that formula, they found that success by finding a formula that was different. And that if you're copying it, you're no longer different. You're no longer you no longer have the thing that they had that made them successful, which was they were the first.
Well, one of the reasons why he's been so successful is because what he does on the day-to-day is specifically conducive to that vlog format. And not everybody has an extravagant a life as he does. And why would you... I don't want to be critical when I say this, but why would you want to be a second-rate Casey Neistat when you could be the first-rate version of yourself? Does that make sense?
Maybe you think the second-rate version of Casey Neistat is better than not. Just kidding.
Well, I mean, if
like
you want
devil's
it, yeah, if you want to be, if you think the second-rate version of Casey Neistat is way better than the first-rate version of yourself, then get to know yourself a little bit better. I mean, go live like. So if I had started doing YouTube 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, let me rephrase that. If I had given myself from 3 years ago the job that I have right now with YouTube, I would have washed out on week 1. Because a lot of what I'm able to do right now, I had to learn through failure for those 3 years in order to be able to handle the responsibility that comes with creating the stuff that I create. And you shouldn't want to, let me restart this. You shouldn't want to, I understand that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and everybody pays homage in some way, shape, or form. There are creators that I lift things from every now and then because they've been an influence to me, but you've got to create something that comes from you. And if you're putting on a facade, or trying to be like somebody else, buying all the same equipment, buying all the same toys that they play with, having the same style of editing, using the same font that they use, and the same type of cuts, and people don't want to watch a guy play dress up as Casey Neistat. What other successful YouTuber is doing, like, I don't know. You wouldn't create, like, all these TV shows you see on TV, if people still watch TV. You wouldn't create a knockoff.
You might.
Well, look, if somebody can create a knockoff Harry Potter, but it's not going to be Harry Potter, right?
Absolutely.
They're just going to go watch Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And you would too. Like, I don't know.
Right. No.
Just thinking out loud.
Completely agree.
And again, sometimes I feel like a hypocrite when I say things like that, because there are times where when I create stuff, I'm influenced by things that I watch. You've got to beg forgiveness to whoever you got to beg forgiveness to for that. But at the same time, you've got to be aiming towards your unique perspective.
Cool. I think we're going to get to the...
Look at this. He's like scrolling through.
I got to get to my questions. I don't
have my glasses on, so I can't read any of that. So.
Perfect. You don't know what's next.
I know.
I want to get to a sort of, we'll call it a lightning round. Just kind of
lightning round.
Quick answers to some questions. I don't know.
I don't know if I can give quick answers, but if you...
That's okay.
Let me preface by saying that what I say in this lightning round might not actually be an accurate representation of what I truly think.
Sure.
But...
What is an idea or framework that you have that you think more people should carry around with them?
Repeat that one more time.
What is an idea or like a framework of thinking that you have that you think more people should carry around?
Before you post or click upload or click publish, ask yourself one question. Why would anybody even watch this?
Do you have any weird hobbies that people don't know about?
Any weird hobbies that people don't know about? And the only thing I think of is like, well, I do YouTube. That's a weird hobby. Let's see here. I am a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. All about the Chiefs.
I don't think many people knew that.
Well, now they do.
There you go.
6-1, baby.
What would you do?
They're going to be like 6-13 by the time it's airs. It's not even possible. But they'll pull it off, trust me.
What would you do if you weren't doing filmmaking or YouTube?
What would I do if I wasn't doing filmmaking or YouTube? I would probably be exercising my creativity in a different art form. I know this is lightning round, but let me go back to this. If you're looking for inspiration and you want to do something that's different and outside of the hive mind, go to an art gallery and just walk around and look at stuff. You'll find inspiration.
Yeah.
Or, lightning round. Go. Breaking the rules.
What is a video that you thought you've always wanted to make, but never had the courage to?
Never had the courage to.
That can mean either that you didn't think it would be publicly successful, you didn't want to risk it, or it can mean literally that you didn't want to put your neck out there.
It's not so much me putting my neck out, but putting the necks of others out. There's some personal things that have gone on in my life that have been not so pleasant, but have truly defined who I am today. But if I were to tell those stories, then the people involved would be truly hurt and truly affected by it. And so, as with all things in life, there are certain cards you play closer to your chest. And I don't know that it would be an appropriate avenue to, especially now when I know that several 100,000 people are going to be hearing my very flawed side of something that might have happened. It's not fair to abuse the position that I'm in such a way. But maybe years from now, when I'm reflecting on my life, if I don't know that if I have a lot of years left, then maybe I can write something about the personal side, the not so happy stuff, and or maybe it'll just be personal. When you write about personal stuff, you can kind of reflect on things and gain some greater perspective. So anyway, the less happy side of the personal stuff.
Yeah.
I understand that you're a Christian.
Yep.
What role does that play in your day-to-day life? What role does faith play in your day-to-day life?
I wouldn't phrase it as what role does it play in my life. It defines everything about my life. And the faith that I have took me out of a very dark and destructive place and put me back up and gave me a second chance at everything. And so it's not so much what role does it play in life, it is what defines everything about it. If you take it out, then the entire structure collapses, if that makes sense.
It does. Fine, there's a hard left turn.
Okay.
Sorry. That was a deep answer.
Okay, sorry.
Appreciate it.
Well, you're asking about religion,
It's
and those are deep questions that require deep answers.
I should have put that before the lightning round.
Sure.
What is the most popular book recommendation that you make to people where they say, hey, I want a great book that I've never heard of before, or I may probably never have run across? Mm-hmm. You can do fiction or nonfiction if you want, or you can just recommend one.
Okay, so if someone's a creative and they want to get into movies or they want to get into writing and they ask, what should I read? Read Stephen King's On Writing.
I love that book.
Yep.
It's a tremendous, tremendous book.
Yep.
What about fiction specifically?
Now that's a harder question.
I have to ask about. I'm a fiction head, so I'm a big fan.
You're just asking for a good fiction book recommendation?
What do you have a go-to?
It sounds strange, but the original Harry Potter run is pretty good. It's, especially for a certain age, tells a complete story, and those books don't get as much of a... I don't like the direction that the franchise has gone in recently, but I do appreciate that if you view that core series by itself. It's a great, complete story. I say that because my wife recently read all of them for the first time, and it was fun to sort of revisit that point in my childhood. Might be nostalgia talking, but good world building.
And then I guess this is probably going to be one of the last questions. I love really weird history. The series you do?
You're the only guy.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I think that's a tremendous series.
Yeah.
Where do you find those stories?
Generally in history books.
So you really go through it. I've never read those in a history book.
Yeah. No, you just read weird, oddball history facts. When I was a kid, I think I picked up at a book fair at school weird history facts and stuff, and I read no obscure presidential trivia and things like that. I Really Weird History kind of broke my heart. That was, I really loved that series. And it was not nearly as successful as I thought it would be. I had planned to do 7 episodes, and we got 3 in, and it was just not... The amount of time it took to produce the episodes was not conducive.
Audience call.
Sure.
If you haven't watched Really Weird History, go right now. Share it with your friends.
Yeah.
I recommend the America's Emperor, or it's the
American Emperor.
The American
Emperor of the United States.
Emperor of the United States. Incredible.
Well,
Operation Mincemeat is my second favorite.
Yeah.
Go watch it. We got to get this thing back on track.
It really would. I mean, that was one of my favorite things that I've made, and just nobody watched it, and the people who watched it didn't seem to... I don't know what happened with it. Honestly, it might have just been that I was not advertising it correctly. Maybe I didn't, brand it correctly, whatever that means. I have submitted those as short films to festivals, and so they'll play on a festival circuit. But yeah, it was just... I love making them, and I love the end result of all of them. I like what we made. I think that maybe if it doesn't have a place on YouTube, maybe it will thrive in some other form or some other medium. Boy, they took a long time to make those. I mean, that was tough.
Well, the strange thing about this is that the one analytic you don't get with YouTube is impact. And those videos, once I saw those, I was like, oh man, I'm a huge fan. I mean, I was a fan, but I was like, oh, this is great content.
Wow.
So to me, sometimes the smaller videos you can make, and it's hard to see as a creator, but from an audience, it's obvious. Some of the smaller films you do, even though they might not be commercially successful, you could get yourself a fan for life. Yeah. So I
understand. If I could do it, I would go back and do more of those, because there are plenty of stories to tell. History is endless in that way. But when it's a 2.5 month production cycle, to put one of those together, we're animating 100% of it, and voicing and audio mixing and all of that. It's a lot of work. I worked more on Really Weird History to perfect those videos than probably any other video that I made, and I loved it because it was a form of narrative.
Yes, that's right. That's one of my favorite parts too. Awesome. Well,
just imagine what I could do if I had a feature.
Yes. Yes.
There are stories left to tell.
You're not going to tell us what your feature's about?
Well, I'll say this. There are lots of stories that I'm burning to tell, and I've been very grateful and appreciative that people have been listening the past few months, the past year and a half. I hope they continue to listen. I'm going to continue to try and say things that are worth hearing. And if folks want to follow along, that's great. I'll do my best to make the stories I have to tell worthwhile.
If not, I don't really care.
If not, I don't really care.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Austin
man.
McConnell, for coming on the Coffee With episode.
This has been Coffee With episode 2. Hang on, wait a minute. It's done on 3. 1, 2, 3. That's how we end it. Thanks, man.
Love it.